something about this thing?
No.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to start our particular meeting October 16th. We're here at Michelle Clark School, 5121, or 5101, I believe, West Harrison. And thank you all for coming and attending. We'd like to start. Anyone attended before you have a prayer? I'm learning to read. Nice. Father God, thank you for the opportunity you allowed us to come and assemble, Lord. Allow our minds, our hearts, and our continents to be about the people. The people is who's affected by what's going on in 15th District, and the people are the ones who's going to solve it. Lord God, touch those that are in need, and heal the bodies, clear the minds. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, we'll start with a roll call. Colonel Leroy's present.
Dr. DeAndre Rose Paxton.
Arewa Ikua present.
Outstanding. We have a quorum. We have 3 of 3. So at this particular time, I'm going to allow it over to Dr. Dre, and he can take us further.
All right, so this is our public comment section. Each person that would like to speak has 2 minutes to just give us, what's on their mind. Again, this is a public meeting, so as elected officials, this is recorded statements that goes into the notes. It especially helps us to track any trends that's going on across the city. As district counselors, we come together once quarterly to talk about those trends, and then also what we should be doing in terms of the community commission to make sure that those issues are hopefully alleviated from our communities. So at this time, anybody wishes to speak, 2 minutes, and we probably won't stop you if you go over, but still, you can say, anything that you like to report, whether it's in this particular area of the community or anywhere in the 15th that you've heard of something going on.
Well, I'll start. Tuesday morning, about 3 o'clock, I had a construction trailer in front of my home. It's an 8 by 10 mobile trailer, and someone felt the need to, they didn't even cut the lock. They took the hinges, those piano hinges. They took the hinges off of the restrictor and climbed in it. And I'm impressed, actually, because they stole a snow plow. Most people in the neighborhood are not that strong to pick it up, so it had to be more than one. And my dog was barking. I wasn't home, but my husband don't pay attention to the dog. And when he got up about 7:30, it was open. So I see that they're back at looking for construction tools, because the snatch and grab from ATMs is augmented with whatever tools they steal. So that's something that when I talked to the police about it, they shared with me some trends that's happening in 15. Another trend that's happening is that when we go to red lights, you notice that the people that have the red aren't stopping. And it's because whatever's happening in the game world, they don't want to be caught at the light by ops. I never heard that. So even if you have a green light, take a moment.
Right throughout the
Yes.
maintain a data repository for community issues like trespassing or noise complaints, announcing upcoming Know Your Rights at the Rudis Center, 5044 West Madison, to focus on teaching residents about their legal rights and how to influence CPV public policies as enabled by the consent decree. Event included guidance from consent coalition attorney, and attendees will learn how to submit policy comments online to help shape local policing. No, that's all. So, yeah.
And then the discussion.
We talked about the restorative tribunal initiative, recap of prior efforts centered around the tribunal for conflict mediation with input from Marcia Thompson Esquire, the development process,
I'm looking at it like, okay. All right. so with this one, essentially, we finalized our tribunal initiative that we've been putting together. The first part, we talked about just the background of it, how did we get there, including talking, having to be an idea, then talking to Marcia Thompson, Esquire, then running it at Build's Restorative Justice Conference, then having it in the next 3 meetings before we solidified, and getting feedback at each of those sessions before we solidified the more pressing issues, which were the mission, the trainings that might be needed, like how do we broaden the scope to deal with community conflicts, buy-in, and the name, which was a big issue. And so ultimately, what came from that is that our mission statement became to build a beloved community where youth, adults, and elders work together to resolve harm, restore trust, and strengthen relationships. And our tribunal provides a restorative, non-punitive alternative to policing that centers healing, accountability, and shared humanity. That's gonna be the last time you hear tribunal, because the name itself got changed to Neighborhood Justice Alliance, which kind of coincides with Build's Peace and Justice.
Community Peace and Justice Alliance.
Community? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. So there were 2 ideas that were the highest selected, which was Community Peace Circle and Neighborhood Justice Alliance. So the name ultimately became the Community Peace and Justice Alliance. Thank you. Which coincides with Build's Peace and Justice Center. We ended up taking in terms of the expansion of the scope, we took out a couple things, which was naming a block level, having a block level mediator network. It was just deemed that it would be too unmanageable. Using tribunal to organize cleanups and resource sharing. We thought that was outside the primary purpose. So those things were removed. And the focus will be on community police conflicts, community conflicts, and essentially any smaller level complaints that can come through us.
Right.
So the areas of focus will be community neighborhood disputes that focus around noise, pets, parking, and cleanliness. We'll also be needing to develop eligibility guidelines and templates for consistency of the Alliance. We are looking to create a trauma-informed support and linkage to mental health resources. We have to maintain capacity to address low-level community and police issues, and then we have to have partnership and buy-in. But we merged that into stakeholder buy-in, which I'll talk about towards the end. So the things that we're gonna focus on in terms of training is restorative and non-violence conflict practices, trauma-informed, context-sensitive approaches, resource awareness and referrals, mediation, practical mediation and facilitation skills, civic literacy and rights awareness, and cultural healing and relationship building. So those are the types of training that a person is gonna have to go through to sit on our Alliance. And then the last thing is, and then there was one priority area which everybody felt was most necessary, which is community education and empowerment. So we looked at it as participants should leave more informed and equipped to handle future conflicts than when they got to the Alliance. And the last piece is the stakeholder buy-in. So we talked about the need having to be youth, elders, renters, homeowners, landlords, community leaders, and we need to reframe our police as partners in non-enforcement restorative roles. We have to pilot our sessions and use storytelling on the sessions impact. There needs to be some incentive involved, like education credits, diversion programming, employment opportunities. We have to go on a visibility and education campaign with local venues and folks that we deem ambassadors. And then we have to also actively engage our faith-based groups like Ministers Coalition. And then, of course, we'd have to have strategic partnerships and referrals. And that's where we actually mentioned the RJ courts that are still working on getting here, but hopefully we can get them here. And then we talked about the next step would be passing on that information to Marcia, getting more information from her as it relates to what needs to happen. But we also noted that she has a 40-hour mediation course for folks to take. So that would probably be the first stop. And now after she gives us her feedback, we're gonna look for participants that would like to get trained up in that. So that was the whole last meeting. I just wanted to go through it because you all weren't there, so y'all can know exactly what the Alliance is all about now. Oh,
Cause these are on these are on the website, right?
yeah, this on the
So
website.
maybe he shared that part, which he shouldn't have, but maybe that's where he got it from.
It's public, well,
Oh, this is true.
It's
Public.
Can we have a motion to accept the meeting?
yeah, I move to accept the meeting's minutes as read.
I'm second.
It's on. Okay, there's been a motion by Council Lewis and second by Council Ford. All in favor?
Aye.
Two ayes. Ayes have it.
All right, now we're gonna move to district council member updates.
I have one update. Actually, the nominators meeting is tonight, right? Which I unfortunately had to miss because I'm here with you all. But because next Thursday is the vote for the president. And so, yeah, commissioners are rallying around who they would like to see as our next commissioner. And I think the two commissioners that are up for this is Commissioner Javier Minor, who was our youth commissioner, which I think she has aged out, and the interim president now because President Anthony Driver stepped down and is vice president currently. Am I correct? Is he? No. Okay, no. Well, the vice presidency is open. They're both technically open. So next Thursday, the commission will put someone forth. But one of the things that I do believe was supposed to come up in the nominators meeting tonight is about our non-engagement and the decision-making process around the president and vice president. And some of the things we're talking about as nominators, we're trusted to, come up with the questions, seek them out, interview them, put them to the mayor, and that's it for us. It's like we have no other, but our thing is, as district counselors and nominators, we want to have say as to who is our city president and vice president. So because right now the commission of 7, they elect one another. Is that what happens? Or are they supposed to? And we don't like how that's going. So, Angelica is supposed to bring that up in the nominators meeting tonight. So yeah, but the community commission meeting is next Thursday. Where is it, on the north side? At a college up north? Wait a minute. Well, I was gonna pull it up.
Well, while you're pulling that up, can I ask
I'm
a
gonna
question?
miss that. Y'all need to be there. Somebody need to be there.
I'll go. So you mean to tell me that a president seat and a vice president seat can both be fresh? There's no type of, in the bylaws that both positions should not be open? So by default, meaning that if you get a new president, the vice president that seat should not be open until the following year, so that
I
there's
would
some.
think that she would fall right back to the vice president.
Right.
Ramel would fall, say for instance, if
that-
Javier
yeah.
is president, Ramel would then fall back to vice president.
Okay, but even if
And then
that's
if
not
she
the case, correct, so if she does win presidency, then that means we will have her by default moving up, But say for instance, both seats should not be open, there should be something documented, whereas by default, a person that is serving in the capacity of whatever should hold that office, just so that there's things that's checking those boxes as you complete the task. Does not matter who's in the seat.
Mel came the interim and now they're nominating, somebody nominating her. They gotta take a vote. So it looks like, yeah.
So I received an information, I received a text to vote for,
Well, we don't vote, but they're asking us to support.
support, that was the term, support,
Yeah.
in what manner is my voice okay? It's true. How can I support her down here and I can't raise my hand up here?
They made up all the rules.
Who are they?
CCPSA.
Okay.
Got any more updates?
That's that one, and then, and this is the job update. Saturday, so I also come together, did a documentary called The Good News, and we are singing on a tour around the community. And this Saturday, we will be at Still Beans in Chicago at on Rockwood from 11 to 1 o'clock, like refreshments. Saturday, this Saturday the 18th at Still Beans. 5300, yeah, West Chicago Avenue, right on the corner.
All right. So, with community engagement, I generally have a newsletter. I didn't get a chance to develop our newsletter, particularly because this newsletter was just essentially contained the information about the tribunal. So I'll get that out. The last few, because we had meetings that really focused on developing the tribunal, they all essentially look the same, if you will, because we were working on in those last three meetings. So when I do print this one up, it'll essentially just have the finality of the alliance now, pardon. And so I'll send it out to everybody. So please make sure you signed in so that Isaiah can send it to you via email. And then I'll just have some copies available next go around. So alongside creating that newsletter, I usually have 2 QR codes on there. One is for a contact us. A lot of times we may have officers present if folks are okay to speak freely. And if so, you know, that contact card, QR code gives you an opportunity to reach out to us and, you know, express yourself a lot more freely while we take the notes and keep it anonymous and share with whoever it needs to be shared with. And then the other one was just a survey that tracks our progress again over the time. We would just like to see we've made a difference. So we've had that going since we started, and just would like for folks to, you know, give us their input on how they feel about police safety or public safety and police accountability in general, so we can see how we've done over our term. The other thing that I hold, as we read earlier, is a resource list. So anytime anything comes up that folks would need to have, whether it's a trespass affidavit or a noise ordinance, or hell, if cleaning, you know, continues to be an issue, I'll try to find something about cleaning, you know, and then we'll put that there so that folks knows exactly where to go when they have these issues. The other thing is the Know Your Rights that we had. It was an awesome presentation. What was the young man's name that did it?
Wallace Hilke. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's an attorney with he's a coalition, Contender Creek Coalition attorney, one of our civil rights attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah, so he just did a presentation that focused on public comment period that we all have to give our voice towards CPD policies. A lot of people are not using it. The most interesting thing I found is, especially coming off the conversation about having these things in place, but it means nothing, and asking for feedback, and it may not mean anything. Same thing kind of he said. He said, you know, this is a database where you can put your input. What happens to it, nobody knows. So there's that. But, you know, we still want to make sure we have an informed community that asks their input. So one of the things that we did was actually add public comment. What was our focus? We wanted to focus on
Use of
Yes.
force, I can't remember what our comment was.
gun pointing. So he brought some
Oh,
statistics that focused on gun pointing, showing that actually the numbers have gone up. 1.4%, I think he mentioned. So,
Years, yeah.
yeah, over the last 2 years, gun pointing incidents, which could be looked at as use of force, has gone up in CPD. Although they've, you know, continue to have, whether it's consent decree or use of force working groups in place, you know, they continue to show up, you know.
Yeah.
So that was something that was interesting that was learned there.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we left a public comment that saying, you know,
It should be considered a use of force because of gun pointing, because right now it is not, considered a use of force, and we've been going back and forth with them like that's a use of force. Everyone knows that the only time you legitimately pull a gun is when you're ready to use it on someone. And so, you know, one of the things I mentioned to the independent monitor, not the independent monitor, but the meeting with the city is like, our police officers feeling that, you know, our communities are so inherently dangerous, like, is this a tactic for them? Like, they just gonna pull a gun on us to keep us, you know, civil, whatever the case may be. But then I had to also talk about the ramifications of a gun being pointed at you and the harm and the trauma that it causes that the city holds no responsibility for. So it's those kind of issues that we need to really when they come around to, because they don't want to continue to believe that it happens as much as it does. One of the people in the meeting did pull up that last video that I sent y'all where the police officer told the guy who ran he was going to shoot him and pull a gun up and showed it to him. Like, it was just an example. This happens on a daily basis in black and brown communities. And so, yeah, let's see what happens.
Oh, yeah, so, you know, even though they may seem similar, there is, you know, like they point out, there's a difference between occurrences and incidences. And so, that becomes legal jargon that we have to understand, because, you know,
those words to me can be used interchangeably, as I'm sure for everybody it could be, but it means two totally separate things. I can't remember exactly the definition or how he broke it down. Do you remember?
I don't quote me.
Okay.
But I think he said that, incidents are, it happens, but an occurrence is, inside of an incident, it can be several, it can be one incident.
right.
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 But it can be other individuals.
Yeah.
Inside.
So you know what? Great point. That makes me think of someone that had come to me because it was a Mother's Day party on the 15th that got rowdy. Officers were called because it was rowdy. When they got there, the group that was partying, you know, got aggressive with the officers, and now that becomes the incident. Within the incident, you had multiple infractions going on, which I guess we would call occurrences. You know, somebody kicked the police, another person, you know, this, that, and the third thing. So yeah, and it became a lightweight melee. So
They had
I understand
Tourette's.
that. Yeah. Okay, so with that, last couple things that I do is also record not only our meeting, but I did record the Know Your Rights session. I have yet to upload that, so I'll make sure I get that uploaded. And then folks could always go to and I usually have it on the newsletter where you can go to find all of the recordings for our meetings. I think I've recorded all of them except for one at this point, when we didn't have proper means to be able to record that day. But otherwise, that is it. The Know Your Rights that we do them quarterly. So, you know, if anybody have any ideas of what they'd like to see or learn more about, I always try to cater to what's most pressing at the time. So if y'all have any thoughts about what we should be notifying our community on, let me know, and I'll make sure within this last quarter here, sometime in November or December, we'll have the next Know Your Rights. Yep, that's all for me.
Okay, my brother said something that absolutely everything, and that's when the behavioral changes. I saw something on one time, I believe you shared the young man started recording how they were treating someone at the intersection. And then they turned on him because he was recording.
Yeah.
And then someone else started recording back from a higher vantage point. So, you know, it does not matter. You can't pump somebody out of standing on a public sidewalk and using the recording device. You can't stop that. Change your behavior. Don't try to change mine. So policing the police is the message that we need to get out. We don't have to stand down. We don't have to walk away. This is a public sidewalk. You pay their salary and you pay for those sidewalks. Just so happen that an alderman may not be fixing them so much, but however, that's your tax dollars, as the brother said earlier. We have financed the infrastructure, so therefore we must understand, lean in, and take ownership for it. So policing the police is my message. I spoke to a bunch of young people, and I let them know, you stand 10 toes down, and just, you know, say a word.
Yeah.
Just turn your phone on. Turn your phone on and make sure that you keep it. And then when someone's phone is knocked down or whatever, someone else pick theirs up. They can't break them all. And then now that's the easy part. Now you have to go to the next step of changing their behavior by going that mile to get it documented. Because this is not invisible ink. Documentation beats conversation, so I believe that's the message for our public. To let them know that you may look like you may not have, somebody may have the upper hand, but you can flip it if you just get involved. And you do have a say. So, you know, we have a bunch of dope dealers, so we need to have some hope dealers. And never lose hope, because you know what? We're too knowledgeable. Absolutely too knowledgeable. We're the only species that has gone through so much hell and still are a threat. So that should tell you something. Yeah, the lineage that's in your bloodline is royalty. So when the enemy sees royalty, you gotta stand up. I love that shirt, King. Act like you know. So thank you.
You know what? So interesting enough that I just finished with decertification. Know your rights. Attorney Carlton Myers just reached out to me. He was saying that he was doing a national police audit of decertification, and he actually published a national report around police decertification that he is interested in teaching and telling the community about. So if y'all are interested, I could put the Know Your Rights together about that. We actually had one some time ago about police decertification because it was a big thing, especially because of the Proud Boys and all of that. So I think it'll be a good time to get back to that and, you know, understand, you know, where our power lies, especially as we talking about, you know, filming them. So,
But where does our power lie? See, I'm in agreement with the sister, right? But now when you come to enforcement, right? Do you know what a police officer is?
give me 1 second. Let me do this real quick. So I just want to bring in a discussion. No, I just want to bring in a discussion because we're moving now.
Okay.
So, all right. Any other updates?
No, just let me have his name in it, Myers.
Carlton Myers, I got you. Oh, last thing I wanted to mention too. So, it's kind of along this. So we are doing a violence awareness workshop on Saturday, the 18th, from noon to 3. We're gonna do it at the Rooted Center. We're gonna be out front though. We're gonna be right front and center on Madison Street. So that's 5044 West Madison. We have Taproots, Fahim, and Ruby. They're gonna come out. We're gonna essentially, because I changed the way that it was. We lost a couple folks that were gonna be doing some workshops with us. We're gonna go right on the street. We're gonna have these conversations. I'm gonna bring my speakers out. I got my wireless mics, and we just gonna talk right down the street. We're gonna catch people as they pass by to bring them in the conversation. We're gonna have food and all that good stuff too. You know what I mean? But that's what we gonna do. Yep. So, yeah, noon to 3. We're gonna do noon to 3 on Saturday. And that's the last thing. And so with that, we're gonna move to discussion. So we brought in Fahim Willis, for y'all that don't know, brother that has a ton of knowledge, you know what I mean? And one of the things that he mentioned before in the meeting with Arewa is, you know, some of the things that we could possibly do as it relates to the deployment of ICE and the National Guard. And we wanted to have a discussion about that. And so I know I quieted him a couple times because it seemed like we was moving to that, but we needed to say that till we got to that. So we here now. So without further ado, Fahim from Taproots, you know, will talk to us a little bit about what we need to be doing and because of the deployment of ICE and National Guard.
Let's take the seat so we can get your front door.
Okay.
Oh, we gonna go that way? Wait, which way we going?
No, I was just giving him my seat so we can get his photo on the camera.
Oh,
Oh.
well, let me get a seat then. Yeah, all right, so I know we had just started to move into the space of the conversation. And so I think the best part to start is where we just left off at. You said, what is law enforcement, right? Like, how do we know that a person is actually law enforcement?
Well, and that's the thing. So, when I say that, I'm talking about how are they identified, right? We don't ever want to go into a situation without understanding what the rules are, right? Because the rules, as the sister was saying, that's what we're going to refer back to when we're making an accusation. See, a fact and the truth, those aren't the same thing, right? So it's great that we can film them doing crazy stuff, right? It's great that we can catch them saying crazy stuff. But now what you have to do is, I'm gonna make it simple. Now you got to know how to take their job, right?
Yeah.
And you're not, and so when they'll use those words, but they'll never really explain what that process looks like. Like, we don't know that those are public officers, and although there are police, they're police because they operate under the police powers of the state.
Right.
Right. Now, the state and the Fed are the same simply because when the federal government began, executive, judicial, and legislative, right, that same model was copied through the idea of state.
Right.
So the state incorporated, and now it becomes a functional franchise, right, of the government itself. So when you think about how it's set up, right, you have the organic state, right, the republic, but then you have the federal state, which is the business, right? So what a police officer is a policy manager on behalf of the municipality or the county, right? They're private hires, right, operating under state statute, rule, regulation, under agency, right, because they get their own policy and procedures, under the authority, right, that's given to them, right, from the Fed through the state, right? Now, you say, well, why is that important? Because, well, who are they? Because they cannot operate in law. Why is that important to know? Because the law is what they're violating, although they're not authorized to operate in law. Well, what do you mean? The state police and the sheriff operate in law, right? The police don't operate in law, which is why I tell people on the side of the road, don't quote anything to them. They're doing their job, right? And their job and what you think they should be doing aren't the same. So you say, well, tie it all together. A cop snatches you out of your car. You tell him don't search my vehicle, he searches your vehicle. You tell him don't search your person, he searches your person. He's calling you everything other than a child of God. And then other people are immediately emotional. So what I tell people in a scene like that is, no, you remain quiet, you remain calm, right? Because why? If they're not a law-abiding employee, what makes you think quoting the law to them is going to save your life on the side of the road?
Yeah, for sure.
Or in a darkened way.
Right.
Or as we've seen, how do you know I could answer, oh my God, get your hands off the weapon, get your hands off the weapon. We don't know what he was looking at while he was hollering that. Right? So why are we calm? We're calm because what do you need to do? You need to notice everything about this moment. Right? You need to notice everything about this moment. Right? And you need to remember what the law is. So does an officer, when he approached my vehicle, have the right to demand, right, my driver's license, blah, 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 blah? Yes, he does. How does he have the right to do that? because you have an agreement with the state, you have a driver's license. So that's what authorizes him to do what he does, right? So let's get away from that first and foremost, right? You being in the car with the driver's license authorizes him to tap you on the shoulder regarding any number of laws regarding your vehicle. You don't know them, so be easy. I give the officer my information and I inform the officer that what? What is my right? My right is I don't have to speak with you. Right? My right is I don't have to speak with you. The privilege is, do I give you that information? You get what I'm saying? He can't enforce my right because he doesn't represent the law. So when he violates the law, I'm taking note. What's his badge number? What's his name? If I'm pulled out of my vehicle, don't fight about the vehicle. You want them to pull you out of your vehicle, especially if what they're doing is wrong. Right? If you pull me over for a traffic stop, then why are you pulling me out of my vehicle? Right? Because I smelled this and I did this and I did. Those are things that you don't even have to worry about. You want to save your life, right? So if they pull me out of my car, what am I looking for now? When I get out, what are the markings on your vehicle? Those numbers in Chicago usually begin in the front end or the tail end of the car. You can notice the license plate, but you want to notice all those details. Why do you want to notice that? Because if you're violating my rights, I don't have to fight with you. I just want to get home, right? Now, once I get home, what am I doing with the information that I have? Right? But what am I documenting? First, I want to know what took place, right? Now that I know what took place, where did the violations come in? Right? Because where do I find those violations at? How many people over here are on the CPD website and have their code of conduct? Right? How their rules and regs? Right. Because what's governing them isn't in the law because they're not lawmen. Right? What's governing them is found under agency. Right? So under agency is where you pin them to the curb. Right? Now, there are Illinois statutes against cussing at an officer. No, not many people know that. Because that's the bait. Right? So, not to get overly technical, but you have to know who they are, and what you want to do is you go through their code of conduct, you go through their rules and regulations and policies and procedure, right? And where they violated you, where they violated, disrespecting you verbally, harming, harassing you, grabbing you things. Because when we were at the last meeting, I had to explain to people that you have an agency writing its own policy about how it's going to handle another person. So as they're handling how they're going to handle another person, well, we're going to use deadly force when? That's not even a conversation that legitimately you can have. But they get to have that conversation. Why? Because we don't do what we're doing now. We don't come in and say, hey, you can't, that's not even on the books for you. Why is that not on the books for you? Because that's a complete violation of my due process. You don't get the right to be judge, jury, and executioner through your behavior. So why am I writing all that up? What I said to you about enforcement, because I want your job. If I go to your agency boss and complain about you, your agency is now authorized to investigate you. What do you think they're gonna come back with? Nothing. Right? I investigated myself, filed, butthole, nut crazy, and we want you out of here. Let me get back with you in 30 days. I'm gonna tell you what I found on me. Right? Now, what you don't understand that you did under agency is what's called administrative procedure. Right? Now you've engaged in a process where they said, hey, you can come check us out. You can come ask about us, right? And we'll gladly stand on that, and we'll get back to you with what we found. But the only reason you want to start that process is because of what? What do we know about public officers, right? Public officer, as defined in the law, is what? Any individual capable of maintaining or engaging in the position. That's an officer. Did you hear what I said? That's an officer, right? What is an officer bound by, right? No. But we got to let's stay in agency first because we want to wrap them up nice and good, right? Now, in his agency, how do you know? If you're the chief executive officer or the chief financial officer, how do you know your duties and responsibilities? It's marked, right? Right. through human resources, right?
Right,
We're
right,
occupying for this job, and then this side of this
Got
job you got to
SOPs
do,
for it.
must be capable and competent in,
Yeah, right.
must be able to, must recertify, right? Cannot do, can do. That's where you nail them at. Now, why do I want to nail them there? I want to nail them there because as a public officer, what do you need to operate in the public? Insurance. You need to be bonded. Right? Why is that important? Because when I make this report here, it doesn't matter what they do with it. I'm going to take that report, right? Because I'm going to ask your boss for your full name, badge number, and who? Insurance provider. Now you missing that. I don't because now what am I doing? Once you make that legitimate claim over here, you don't have to wait till what the resolve is there. Now you can bring them back onto the private side and say,
Right.
now you, a public individual, have violated my rights, right? Here's what you did in agency, and because they think they're smarter than us, here's where everything about your agency falls out of line with the law. So now what I'm going to do is take your insurance. Now, why is that important? Because once I make that claim against your insurance, until they resolve it, guess what? Your boss can't put you behind the desk.
Right.
Your boss can't transfer you. No, until this is resolved, pimping, I'll holler at you, go find something to do. Now, because I'm a stank individual, right, and we know a little bit now, so since I done pulled you out of the pot, see, you pulled me into your world when you stopped me in my car and got down on me. No problem, right? Now, what happens if this cat pulls you over and they intentionally had their badge covered, right? They intentionally had their face obscured, and they had any of their markers on it. What, in the state of Illinois, that's illegal.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to know that, right? You can't just go in and say, hey, this is how it went down the woo. You got Judge Watman for the old schools. You know, you got to have receipts, right? I'm going to say this, and here's the evidence, right? I'm going to say this, and here's the evidence. I'm not dealing with the truth. We got to get out of the lanes. What am I dealing with? I'm dealing with the evidence.
Right.
I'm dealing with the evidence
Yeah.
is providing the facts,
Yes.
Right.
right? And the facts establish, right? So once I kill you there, just to make it real sexy, now what I do is, since I have your name and information, and I file a legitimate claim. We want legitimate claims. We don't want people running up on a public officials filing false documents, right? But now once I did that, guess what I'm going to do now? Now I'm going to go and I'm going to put a UCC-1 lien through the Secretary of State on your commercial property. What does that mean? That means anything that you're trying to do, we want that frozen until what? Until this matter is resolved. So what do I get to effectively do? I get to George Floyd you now in the cerebral, right? I get to choke you out. Because until this is resolved, you can't do anything. Now, guess what's so sexy about the lien? A judge can't remove it. Your agency boss can't remove it. Guess what the only person that can remove it? So when we begin to talk about enforcement, you know, TikTok, YouTube, all of those things are great, right? But then it lacks common sense. It doesn't matter what I know. I don't want to argue with somebody who I know wants to kill me already, right? Second of all, what you're saying, as impressive as it is and as much as it took you to learn it, it doesn't matter on the side of a road, right? Now, if they're already wrong, they're going to continue to be wrong. They're going to give you everything that you need, right? And then a little secret about their cameras, right, is that they don't have to touch their cameras in order to activate those cameras. Those cameras have between a 1.5 and 2 minute buffer, right, on them, right, at the beginning of sound and move, right? That's automatically uploaded. They can't take that back and interfere with that. That goes straight into a cloud. How do I know that? Because I was in Arizona, right? And I'm not saying this to be mean. What I'm saying is, for the people that don't want to, our fight, as the gentleman said, it's not this, right? But it's this, right? And in order to keep everybody, you're fighting with someone who don't mind whooping ass. I mean, thousands of years, that's what I read, right? That's what's been put on TV, right? This is how they deal with the police. And then it's just like the attorneys. Attorneys are great, but not many people know that. Like a lot of people say, like, attorney crime privilege, your attorney is for you, right? That's who he for, right? His first duty is to you, especially once you give him that money, right? That's never true. His first duty is to the court. He's a public officer, right? And in many cases, when we were having a discussion about with them dealing with parole, I was saying you got to be careful because you got to understand how the rules work in America is. If you go into a courtroom and you have an attorney, you've already mitigated yourself to a position of inferiority simply because you just stated that you can't conduct your business.
Yeah.
Right? That's now the wordplay is, now do I throw him away? No, I don't throw him away, right? I want him, right? Cause the court gonna give him to me, but I don't want him as an attorney, I want him as what? A counselor. Cause now when I move you to the position of counselor, right? Now that means that I have access to your brain and what I need to ask you and what you need to tell me now. That's the rope that binds you to me, but we need to know how to make those moves, man. They got us away from civics for a reason. When you ask the average person, okay, if you got a complaint against the police in your state, who do you file that complaint with? Absolutely not. I mean, that's what they tell us.
Right, that's what they tell us.
Hey, Joe, take it right back to the agency that violated.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
Y'all just knocked me in my eye. Do I want to take it back to him or do I want to take it to his dad? Now, who am I going to get better resolve from? Depending. Might get the other eye put out. But what we want to know is we want to do a couple of things. Number one, we want to keep young men and women safe. You know, never under any circumstance do you engage and offer in hostility. Your movement is always honor, courtesy, dignity, and respect, even when you ain't getting it. Because the goal is for you to get home, and the goal is for you to allow that officer to get home safely. You observe everything. What's going on with the badge, what's going on with the name tag, and then keep it super duper technical. What kind of vest do they got? Do it say police? Do it say detect? What it got? What are the markings on it? Right? Because just because it doesn't have any, now what we begin to do is we begin to play with other parts in the law regarding what your official dress is when you on your job. When you on your job and you're carrying your weapon, I ain't got no car. That's impossible. That's not that's the rule. Why you ain't got no cars on you, pimpin'? Hey, you got your gun on you? Oh, come on, we gotta have a conversation now, right? You want to be able to know those things, right? And you want to be able to know that when you're harassed, where does the harassment come from? Don't look to the law, because when you look to the law, what they're going to get you on now is a technicality, because now what you're doing is, if I want to deal with a sheriff or a state police, I deal with the law. When I want to deal with a police officer, I'm dealing with the rules and regulations of agency. The rules and regulations of administrative agency is different because they get to write under their idea of law, the small L, they get to write their own policy and procedure. Right? Again, if I'm writing my own policy and procedure, how often do I got to investigate myself? So are they being phony and misleading? Yes and no, right? You know, a lot of people think that, hey, our job is to serve and protect. That's not in their hands. But where did you get that from? You got that from the movies and television.
That's all they got.
You know what I'm saying? But that's a
That's a decal.
no, that's promo. You know what I'm saying? That's marketing. Their job in terms of how that's expressed, you better go read it. It's in black and white. You can be right up on Google. CPD. Everything from how they're supposed to dress, everything from how they're supposed to communicate, everything from how they're supposed to engage you. It's in black and white. You don't have to make it up, right? And when you come back, you got to know that when we come at them, as the sister said, with the pen, Now we change. Now this is how we change lives, because guess what? I got home, I got safe, I sat at my computer, and I dismantled your life. And the reason I say it in those terms is because, again, I've never ever seen a bully stop bullying anyone because you were acting nice. Oh my God, Dre, I really wish that you wouldn't slap me and go in my pocket. It makes me feel effeminate in some strange kind of way. It's like, man, come on, man, bring your pockets again, man, before I do it. You know what I'm saying? It has to be, hey, if you can let me pass, then let me pass. But if you won't let me pass, especially with them, it has to be a change of life. I have to show you that I can change your life and never touch you.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like I don't have to stand on the side of the road and breathe that. I don't have to jump in your face. I don't have to let you tear my window. Even if I let you put me in handcuffs and take me where you gonna take me, which is highly unlikely if I don't escalate. Mm-hmm. Right? You want me to escalate? Why? Because they get to enhance the book. Mm-hmm. Now I get to take you for 24 hours. Now I get to just stick you somewhere, make you uncomfortable, and depending on how I feel about you, you know, that'll depend on how many other things that I put on this ticket. Sure. Now let's talk about something sexy. Let's switch it to commerce, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Right? Here's what you gotta know, and I want you to go look it up to understand why. A police officer can, as an employee of the city and state for which he is issuing a ticket for as a violation, and then issuing a price and a court date to you, that's impossible. That's a violation of executive, legislative, and judicial operations. That's a violation in commerce. You can't issue a ticket. And not under no mumbo jumbo stuff. It's like, what did they just do that you accepted, right? And that you never did anything about it. You don't even know how to fight them. Why? Because we don't know the law. Yes, sir.
I just didn't want to get you too far, but what we take the
the Attorney General's office. Right? But you file it with them for the reason, not so much first, but the reason that you file it with them is because that's notice, right? And inside of administration, it's like this. You and I have business, right? We came together, we got together, and we came to terms, and when we came to terms, we sat down and we put our names on the contract, right? Now, when one of us violate that, right? We don't get to go to court. I say, hey, what's your name, bro?
Isaiah.
Hey, brother Isaiah, you know, on this day, I didn't get that payment that you were supposed to run, that you said you was gonna run, so I'm giving you the courtesy of letting you know. You say, oh yeah, now you might say, hey, my problem, I forgot, I'll run it, or you may say nothing. Or you may say, hey man, you ain't got nothing else coming, get it like Tyson got the Tyson, right? But there's an exchange that takes place in the administrative process regarding how you handle wrongs. So when your officer has done something to me, the first person I'm gonna come back to is his chief, his agency head. Hey, this is what your boy did on this date and time, this is how they got down, and these are what the facts and the evidence is. But the other thing that people don't understand about facts is that, why don't you want to tell them that on phone? Why does everything about your communication with them, why do you want it in writing? Well, not only is it paper, but if you want to get that paper in the court, that paper can only be introduced by a first-hand witness. And if the first-hand witness didn't create their own record of evidence, whether answered or not, it's just a claim. Because it's all business. That's why I started with the federal government first. When we say it's all business, you got to understand the only reason that we're able to traffic and trade. What the European did was, oh, you know what? Hey, we can get bread over here. We can get bread over here. We can get bread over here. All right, check game. What we gonna do is, since these cats really don't think nothing of what we're doing, we gonna run it. So now, again, Dre, he a genius, right? Work with the computers. We gonna bring him in, but when we bring him in and he signed that HR contract, everything you do in your brain trust, for however long you work with us on our side, we got that pimping, not you. So we ain't worried about the anything getting out of pocket or getting away from us because he can't do nothing with it. And thank you, Ms. Don. And so I just want people to understand, we need to go further, cause I'm talking fast. But we really need to know that it's all business. When you go and you put in Chicago Police Department and you pull up his Duns and Bradstreet number, which you can, right? Cause it's a matter of public record, right? Now that begins to let you know, now once you get that, you can figure out who their insurer is, right? Cause they're a public agency. They have, anything operating in the public has to have insurance, or is insured, I should say, right? And then what you do is, now you take all of that information and you come back. When I've been violated by an employee, first thing you want to do, especially if he's on duty, is ask that officer for his card. You want to ask that officer for his card, and if he doesn't have his card, please write your information down and give it to him. When he tell you, no, I ain't got to give you nothing, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, right? If that officer gets into his car, you want to try to see that plate number, or you want to wait and let that officer go past you. Everything that you learned in the street, you want to apply there. You ain't got to get out and pump your chest. All you got to do is gather evidence. Once you gather the evidence, you document the evidence. And once you document the evidence, you make the accusation and you give notice of that. I'm giving you notice of the accusation when I tell you what the business was. Now I don't need you to really do anything about the business, because I just wanted to fulfill my obligation to you, because him, that little piggy, and Joe, he won't be going to market for quite some time. And we need to know that.
Yeah.
Right? But we're not gonna know that if you don't know who these people are. So just with ICE, the other thing that I would recommend for everybody in the room is, hey man, let them state IDs go, get you a passport, get you the book and the card, right? Because it represents something different relative to status. And I'm never gonna tell you anything that you can't check. You can go online, don't go to YouTube or none of that. Go straight to the Department of, the people that do the passports.
Aviation?
No, it's not aviation, it's the State Department. You know, go straight through the State Department, because you gotta remember, everything is built like the government. Who we got? We got the governor, we got the lieutenant governor, chief and co-chief, right? Who's the real power man, though, for the Fed? The Secretary of State, right? Who's the bookie? You dig what I'm saying? The Department of Revenue. You get what I'm saying? So in terms of the Attorney General, when you have a complaint, this is how you play the game. When you have a complaint that's done and you're playing the U.S. citizen, right? That's government issue, Pimpin'. So what ends up happening is the Attorney General handles those complaints for you, right? And then whatever he does with those complaints, you really don't care. You just want the paperwork to bag you, so that when you make the legal plays against that cat's finances, right, he can't then double back and say, well, a lot of people, when they got the information, they was just doing it out of spite. Well, so-and-so did something. So basically, you're presenting a false claim against that man or woman's insurance company, right? But no, let them go. When they violate your rights, hey man, you walk them through that whole process. You gather that information, you write that up. One notice goes to his agency, so that means that whatever district he came out of, wherever you traveling at, 15, 11, 20, whatever, right? That goes back to his commander, right? But along with his commander, there's a CC that goes to the Attorney General.
Yes, sir. All right. Great information. So it's about knowing everything that revolves around your right as a citizen, and all of these various governmental entities that we have to interact with on a daily basis. So
Absolutely. And remember that the law is always on your side, because governments were instituted for what?
the people.
Not only for the people, but what were they instituted to do? They were instituted to protect your rights, your property. So when you get to seeing how the police operate in terms of, well, what's their real job and how they identified in the county and the municipality, right? You will see, well, what is their job? To protect property, to protect, and you got to know what that is.
All right. I appreciate you, brother. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. So next piece for our agenda was votes, which we have none. So we'll move right past that, and then the announcement. Okay. Well, we want to take a special meeting to have a discussion about the displacement of our COC.
Thank you.
What day, time?
Well, you know, if we can't get it next week, we'll have to wait until I come back from Nicole.
Oh, you, okay. Oh, what's your next week look like?
Just make it happen.
All right.
I will show up twice.
All right, so we'll do, 10/23. That's next Thursday. No, that's Thursday.
Oh, that's the board thing.
Oh,
No, the door.
oh, yeah, that's the,
So
yeah.
I'm saying, let's do an afternoon, or let's do afternoon.
Yeah, that's cool, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
Thursday will be all right for me.
yeah.
All right, so we are, 10:23, noon, works for you, Carmelita?
Yes.
Noon, I'm gonna say 11 o'clock. So we'll do 11 o'clock, 10:23,
So I know y'all meeting on my behalf, but I don't start till 12, I got a meeting at night.
Okay. All right, well, go ahead. 11, I guess, I don't know, okay. We'll figure it out, we're moving to have a special meeting on 10/23 to discuss, COC.
The displacement of our.
The displacement of our COC.
Right.
All right, so, that's our vote, so,
Do I have
I
to
don't,
make a
how do
motion?
we never had a vote, did we? I'm trying to remember, yeah, let's, make a motion for our special meeting on 10/23.
Second.
No, you made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I make the motion that we have a special meeting, in regards to the displacement of our community outreach coordinator, Isaiah Brooks, on, October 23rd.
All right, I second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Oh, and then the announcement of, the last piece is our announcement of our next regular meeting, which is our 30th meeting, is going to be at Julia Ward Howe, 720 North Laurel, 6 p.m. Thursday, November 13th. And please enter at door 6M. All right, that is all. So,
If it's,
for the-
it's got a lot of doors.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to end our meeting at 7:31 today.
I second.
All right. All right. There you go. All right, thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for coming out.
It's like I told her something about the credit, and she ain't sat down and did nothing with that joint.
The who?
Man, that credit gang.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey man, look, when you start reading, when you actually the United States Code, especially once you figure out that nothing that you reading is the law, you want to find out
Right.
law, you can only find them in the statutes of law.
Yeah. Cold game.
Hey Joe, but it's fair.
I gotta talk to,
Cold game.
I'm gonna have to-
Oh, but it's fair.